Clayton Mitchell.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. I'd just like to acknowledge the fact that that was a very hot air, wind-filled delivery, and I dare say that the honourable member would probably make a very good hand dryer. Mr Speaker, I would also like to say and take this opportunity to welcome on board our newest member, Ria Bond, who sits here beside us. What a fantastic person to have as part of our caucus, to now make up 10% of this debating chamber, 12 members in the House, and this party, New Zealand First, continues to grow, being the fastest growing political movement in the country at the moment. I'd also like to take away some of the filibustering that's been going on and acknowledge some of the comments that have been made in the House this afternoon, particularly in light of the ponytail pulling. Even himself, Mr Nick Smith, has mentioned it. Hiki Parada also mentioned it. And I don't want to take too much time up of that, but I have to say it is a little bit veered. You know, kind of veered like a Dutch accent, and I still haven't got my head quite around why and how it got to where it is. It's very veered, yes, yeah. But the whole point, a little bit creepy as well. My point, I'd like to also take the time to acknowledge the people of Nepal. And we, 4 years ago, were in a very similar situation, and we had the world come to our aid. And some of those other countries made their way to the shores of New Zealand. Within 12 hours, we had representatives from Australia with their USAR teams arriving here. We had the UK 48 hours later. They were on New Zealand shores helping out New Zealanders get their lives back on track. We had people from Canada, United States, Japan. Everybody came together to help us out. And I do find it somewhat embarrassing, Mr Speaker, that somebody with a country with the training that we've got. In fact, just last month, our USAR team just got a distinction, an accreditation for their skills in urban search and rescue, USAR as it's referred to, and yet we cannot get our act together as a government to send and deploy immediately those to the country, a country which we have got a very good, strong standing relationship with, being Nepal, going back to 62 years in 1953, of course, when Sir Edmund Hillary and Tenzing Norgay summited Mount Everest, and we've built this fantastic relationship up, and we cannot get our act together with a team, some of the best USAR operators in the world, to get over there to lend a helping hand. Now, I said when I got into government that I don't want to be in opposition just throwing stones willy-nilly at the opposition, at the government for argument's sake. And I'd like to be able to say that I have, and this party has got the decency to commend the government when they do good things, and also to point out flaws in areas that they aren't getting it quite right. And this is an area that seriously needs some attention. With the Minister not in the House today... Sorry, Mr McIndoe, big bud. Oh no, I've got some things I'd tell you right now that we need to address. You know, we have got some major issues, and that is particularly with the protocols around sending off our search and rescues overseas, internationally, for aid. Now, we need to change those protocols. What we should have done in hindsight was send off an early deployment team of 5 or 6 people heading over to Malaysia and into Nepal to go and do a ground survey. And I have to say, I would much rather somebody that's asking for forgiveness by sending people early rather than asking for permission. And you, Mr McIndoe, would agree that if your house was burning down and you weren't there to call 111, you would expect your neighbour to call their fire brigade regardless, rather than waiting for them to say, yes, your house is burning down, mate, would you like to call the fire service? Sure you would. And if they arrived, the fire service arrived and realised that they weren't required to assist in any way, they can always turn around and go back. Now, that's what we should have done with supporting Nepal in their crisis times, because that is what was done for us when we went through the same situation down in Christchurch 4 years ago. Now, we need to take heed to these mistakes and change the protocols, the way we are operating, because we have got some of the best, most highly decorated and distinctive operators in USAR that are standing around waving their tongues in the breeze waiting to be deployed. Now, what can we take from this? How can we make this situation better? We should be sending our search and rescue people there, and certainly be offering up our services in the urban and regional areas around Kathmandu that needs it. Miss Antoli, you cannot tell me that sending helpers, search and rescue, what about rubble clearing, cleaning up and helping? We had people coming over. It took 72 hours 72 hours for us to get ready to deploy. It's not good enough, and whichever way you dress it up, this government needs to look at itself. The Minister for Internal Affairs needs to be doing a better job to get better outcomes for this country. It's an embarrassment, Mr McIndoe, and there's no other way of looking at it. We need to get on top of it.
Members' time has expired.